Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You know, I've tried my fair share of cheap espresso grinders over the years, those little blade grinders, the $50 Blade Amber hybrids, even some no-name burr grinders that promised the world but delivered more dust than grounds. They always left me with uneven extractions, a ton of static cling on the portafilter, and a mess to clean up. So when I heard about the Rocket Espresso Faustino 3.1, I was skeptical at first. But after using it for a few weeks, I can honestly say it's changed how I make espresso at home. If you've been frustrated with inconsistent grinds or just want something that feels like it belongs in a real cafe, this might be the one. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing that stood out to me was how quiet this grinder is compared to everything else I've used. Most espresso grinders sound like a small jet engine revving up, especially when you're grinding for a double shot. But the Faustino 3.1 hums along smoothly. It's not silent, but it's definitely not ear-splitting. That might not seem like a big deal, but if you're grinding early in the morning while everyone else is still asleep, that quiet operation makes a huge difference. Plus, the motor doesn't overheat, so you can pull multiple shots in a row without worrying about the grinder shutting off or slowing down. Another thing I love is the grind consistency. With cheaper grinders, you often end up with a mix of fine and coarse particles, which leads to weak or bitter espresso. But the Faustino 3.1 uses a 64mm flat burr set, which gives you a much more uniform grind size. That means better extraction, richer crema, and a more balanced flavor in your cup. I've noticed my shots pull faster and more evenly, with less channeling through the puck. It's the kind of consistency you'd expect from a commercial grinder, but in a home-sized package. The build quality is also impressive. Rocket Espresso is known for making durable machines, and this grinder is no exception. The body is all metal, so it feels solid on the counter, not flimsy like some plastic alternatives. The hopper and grounds bin are both made from high-quality plastic, but they're thick and well-fitted, so they don't rattle or wobble when you're grinding. Even the doser mechanism is smooth and precise, which makes dosing your coffee into the portafilter a breeze. I also appreciate that it comes with a 12 ounces stainless steel frothing pitcher included in the bundle. That's a nice bonus if you're into milk drinks like cappuccinos or lattes, because you won't have to buy one separately. One feature that surprised me was the micro-adjustable grind settings. The big outer dial lets you make coarse adjustments, but there's also a smaller inner dial for fine-tuning. That level of precision is great for dialing in your espresso recipe, especially if you're experimenting with different beans or roast levels. I've found that even small adjustments make a noticeable difference in extraction time and flavor, so having that control is really helpful. Cleaning is another area where this grinder shines. Unlike some grinders that have a million nooks and crannies where coffee grounds can hide, the Faustino 3.1 is pretty straightforward to clean. The doser is removable, so you can easily brush out any leftover grounds. The burrs are also accessible for a quick clean, which is important because old coffee oils can build up and affect the taste of your next grind. I usually just give it a quick wipe down after each use and do a deeper clean once a week, and it stays in great shape. Now, I should mention a couple of things that might not be perfect for everyone. First, this grinder is pretty heavy, it weighs about 25 pounds. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you'll want to place it somewhere permanent because it's not something you'll be moving around often. Second, while the included frothing pitcher is nice, it's not a high-end one. If you're serious about latte art, you might eventually want to upgrade to a better pitcher, but for most home baristas, it'll do the job just fine. Overall, the Rocket Espresso Faustino 3.1 has been a game-changer for my home setup. It's quiet, consistent, and built to last, which is exactly what you want from an espresso grinder. The included frothing pitcher is a great bonus, and the micro-adjustable settings give you the control to dial in your perfect shot. If you've been struggling with inconsistent grinds or just want a grinder that feels like it belongs in a cafe, this one's worth considering. If you're curious and want to check it out, the link is below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.